Hi there, crafty friend. It's Anna with Anna from Lucy Papercrafts. Do you struggle with neutral / masculine card ideas? Well, then today's tutorial is for you. I got a really sweet and simple card idea that you can make in just a few steps with just a few supplies. And I also share a really cool tip how you can extend the use of your label punches. So let's hop on over to my crafting table and let's get stamping. So here we are at my crafting table. And today I'm featuring Stampin' Up's new Perennial Lavender Suite. It's really gorgeous. You find it in the current mini catalog on pages 24 and 25. There's two bundles in it. One is the painted lavender, and we'll be using this stamp here today. There's a set of matching dies. And on the next page is the really beautiful sentiment set. It's called Perennial Postage. And there's a set of dies. If you wanted to make it a bundle and get 10% off, these dies are really cool because you have huge layers to make this kind of stamped, border kind of frames and layers. And yeah, so we'll be using this very small one for our sentiment today. Then, of course, I'll also be using the Perennial Lavender Designer Series paper, a few scraps of pretty Peacock cardstock, and our ink pads are Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. And so that's going to be our color combination for today. Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock, and Crumb Cake. And then I'm also using from a different bundle, actually, the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. I really love it. It goes with so many stamp sets, so many sentiments. And I'm also showing you an extra tip on how you can create some extra layers behind it to kind of match this label. All right, so let's go ahead and put our card together. So, like I said, I got some Designer Series paper here. And then I cut a layer of Pretty Peacock that goes right behind it. And to keep my card nice and light for postage, I went ahead and I punched out the label with the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. And then I went ahead and I cut it in half. And I'll show you in a second why. So we can just go ahead and put our Designer Series paper. All of these designs are so beautiful. It's really hard to cover this up, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm just using some Stampin' Seal, going all the way around. And I'm going to layer this on here. So nobody knows that we've punched out that label there. Let me just get that straight. Okay, then we can go ahead and we can put that onto our basic white thick cardstock card base. Let's see. Just a little bit there. So yeah. Is that straight? Yeah, looks good. So this is a really nice, easy card sketch that you can use, for so many occasions. Just switch out the small little sentiments, switch out your colors, and it's just really quick and easy. Now, I also, like I said, I punched out a label from the same Designer Series paper, just this crumb cake gingham pattern. And we're going to stamp on that in Lost Lagoon with our big piece of foliage here. Let me get that out of the way for a second. So, just going to ink that up. And the nice thing is it's photopolymer, so we can see through there. So one, and then we'll do a second one, just to give our label a little bit of extra texture. I feel like I don't do that enough stamping on Designer Series paper, although you get such nice effects. Okay, so, and then I'm going to take my two pieces, so that's the full label, and I just cut it in half. And if you line it up in your paper trimmer and you have at least 1 inch on each side of your cutting blade, You'll see it is about 2 inches wide, so if you line it up on one side at about 1 inch, then you got exactly half of it. Okay, then I'll be using some liquid glue, just if I can get it out. Of course, you can use some tape runner too. And just line this up here. The nice thing is about liquid glue, you can wiggle around a little bit. And I want it a little bit thinner than that. So, and then we do the same for the other piece. Just put it on there. And I'm sure you've seen this little tip with many of lots of other label punches. So, okay. And you can check on the back if it's lined up nicely, somewhat even. So that way it gives you a little bit more of a pop of color there behind that light crumb cake. Okay, so then I have some linen thread. Wish me luck that it works out the first time. I have some linen thread here, one of our absolute crafting basics in terms of embellishments. And this is about 21 inches. So let's see here. I'm going to wrap this around twice. And the nice thing is we have our cut section here in the middle, somewhat as a guide. So it doesn't need to be perfect. So, because even if it's a neutral card, I think it's nice to have a little bit of an embellishment. At least, at the very least, we can do linen thread. That goes with everything. So what I like to do is use my tweezers here. Well, after I tie the knot. So this is always a little bit tricky, but we'll make it work. Okay, so I want it a little bit on the top, not all the way to the side. Okay, let's see, can I get my tweezers in there? Okay, now wish me luck. Did I get somewhat of a, yeah, that was too much wiggle, but that's okay. So we'll just make it a little bit smaller. I don't want a huge bow, so you could even do less than 21 inches. I just wanted to have enough to tie my bow. So let's see here. Let's trim that off a little bit, about that length, so we have a little bit on the card. Okay, so, and then we can go ahead, and I'm just going to glue this down. I'm not gonna pop this up on dimensionals. Because again, I like to keep my cards somewhat flat. So, now, putting it right there. Looks good. So now we have kind of creating a nice connection between this layer of Pretty Peacock and the back layer of the label. Okay, and now to the last part, if I can find mine. So I have my little basic wide layer here that I die cut with the Perennial Postage dies. And let's see if I can find them real quick. So let me pull these out. So you can see how big they are. It's basically almost like a whole card front, and then lots of different shapes and sizes of this postage border, and then even like a little ticket. And then you get some extra pieces here to turn them into labels and have reinforcement layers for your holes. And then this little guy here, this butterfly, it actually embosses like an actual back in the day kind of stamp from the post office. So really cool set of dies. Even if you don't like the sentiments from that bundle, I highly recommend getting the dies. They're really cool. So, and I'm really hoping, knowing that this suite is very, very popular, I really hope that it carries over, at least the 2 bundles, carries over into our next annual catalog coming out in May. All right, so last stop for this card, not step. Let's see here. So I'm going to be stamping my sentiment in Pretty Peacock. And I'm using the Thank You for Your Friendship stamp from the Perennial Postage. And I only want to thank you. So now you have options. You can cut this apart. I don't like to do that actually with the red rubber stamps, because sometimes you see how these words are really close together, so you would have to bend it a little bit. Just too much of a mess. I find it, if it's photopolymer, I am less hesitant to cut it apart, but with the red rubber, here's my tip on what I do. We have this very narrow end here on our ink pads, right? This one is where your thumb goes to pull it in and out, open and close it, and then we have this really narrow edge. So I'm gonna actually bend over a little bit here and see, I find my thank you here. And what I'm gonna try and do is just ink up that part. I could use our Stampin' Up markers. You could do that too. I just prefer the ink coverage from the ink pad. So I'm just carefully tapping it on that edge, kind of leveling my eyes with the, my table surface here to ink it up. And that looks good. So you see, I only have ink on there. And now wish me luck that I get it somewhat straight on there. Now here's a tip. What you can also do is, when you have your grid paper, I hope I'm not getting my hair in the way. A tip, if you have grid paper, and don't pay attention to where your stamp is located, okay? What we're going to focus on is where our block is. And I'm going to line it up somewhat with this edge here and this line, this line and this line, okay? So let's see here. Okay, so now I know where my stamp is, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, and you see I have a little bit too much ink on that side, so I should go lighter on that. So I'm just going to ink it up again. Just a little bit. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my label just right on top of it. So let's see, there, about, yeah, I mean that should work out. So I'll just place my label on top of there, give it a little huff, and now I place my block, at least I try to place it right there again. I hope I wasn't in the camera. I got a little smudge there. So, nope, you see, out of focus. So, there's my little card. Oh, my sentiment. I actually like to use our foam pads for that, because then you can get these really skinny strips that you can use on your cards. Whoop. What's going on here? No, I see. All right. Okay. So we'll put that here, and we'll put the other one over here. So we're creating a little bit of a tunnel there. And then we're going to put that right on here. All right, and there you go. Our cute little thank you card in neutral colors. Nothing too crazy. And yeah, so that's my card for today, and I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and I see you next time. Happy stamping. Bye!